Welcome to Foundation for Excellence Gala. Sudha, so great to see you. I know it's been a while. I'm so excited. The in-person events are back again. Excited to be at the FFE banquet. How was it for you guys during the pandemic?
Thank you. It's wonderful to be back. And actually, FFE was very well prepared in terms of we had gone online. And so during the pandemic, we were able to actually award the maximum number of scholarships to students, over 10,000 scholarships to students all over India. And that meant that all our donors stepped up and were willing to contribute higher than they had ever before. So we had a record milestone year in the middle of the pandemic.
Hey, I'm Tanga. I've been associated with FFE ever since 2003, since I completed my high school. Fast forward back to 2010 is when I got into eBay as a staff engineer. The impact FFE created on me getting into that is pretty huge. Our entire family's lives have changed.
Hi, FFE sponsored my engineering education, and that took my financial worries away and I could concentrate on my studies. I graduated my engineering with university gold medal, and I also got into a good job straight out of the college. Now I work for Google in California, and I'm very grateful to FFE for helping me. So I'm in turn helping other FFE scholars. I have sponsored 6 engineering students so far, and I hope I will continue to do that. Thank you very much.
What makes FFE so special?
I mean, they are really supporting a good cause for students in India. Like a lot of them, I'm seeing them in the blue ribbons. They are amazing. I mean, they have done a really good job supporting them. Like living here in the US, it becomes very difficult, even if you like to. But this is a good channel for all of us to support the students back in India.
Yeah, what makes FFE so unique?
The most spectacular thing about FFE is that it focuses on education. And education is the one investment that has potentially infinite return, right? Everything else, you can double your money. Maybe if you're super successful, you make it 10 times. But you take a person with a smart brain, smart mind, educate them, and they could change the world.
Hey everyone, my name is Bismay, and I just want to talk a little bit about how FFE has completely changed my life. When I was applying to my undergrad kind of colleges in India, I secured a pretty good rank and I got a good seat in a good college. But the thing that was pretty lacking was the economic support. And FFE stepped in, and they were the ones who were able to sponsor my education, and it completely changed my life. 15 years hence, today I'm at a very good biopharmaceutical company with a stable career, building out my family here and trying to contribute back through FFE and through other means. And I don't think any of that would have been possible. In fact, I don't know what the trajectory of my life would have been if FFE wouldn't have been there. I'm an example of what help from potentially one of you can completely change someone's life. Thank you.
FFE is a great organization. It's a wonderful idea to help young people get a professional degree that helps them elevate their standard and their ability to earn and help their families and their neighborhood. It's a wonderful program.
What makes FFE so special?
So in my opinion, I think FFE has a true ripple effect. So when a scholar receives aid, funding, a scholarship, not only do they pledge to give back to FFE, but they also support the rest of their family. So they're obviously these super bright children who deserve to go to school, to higher education, but their parents, their siblings, they cannot afford to do so, right? So when they are able to get a full education, get a stable job, they're able to give back to their immediate family and bring them up. And I think that's really important because it doesn't just benefit the student, it affects their entire family. And it could mean cousins, it could mean grandparents, it could mean their parents and aunts and uncles. And you actually see this movement of hey, I have supported my not only immediate family, but my extended family in my village or in my city, and I have helped them come up from that point. So that ripple effect, it's really, really powerful.
Prabhu, so great to see you at the FFE banquet.
Good to see you too.
You know, during the pandemic, everything came to a stop. What was the journey of FFE during the pandemic?
So, you know, we could not hold any galas, and a significant amount of fundraising that we do in the US is through the galas. But what did we decided to do? We cannot hold galas during the pandemic, so we decided to just call our donors, and we were just amazed as how they opened up their wallets and contributed. So we actually raised so much money last year. We've never raised that much in our lives. So last year we raised almost $2.5 million, which was way beyond what we've done in any gala before. So our operations in India have continued. We've grown tremendously. So from the previous year to last year, we grew almost 33% the number of scholars they were funding in India, from 7,500 to over 10,000. So we're just so excited. And I think the reason we can feel that way and make this thing happen is because our donors feel so good about what they're doing. And we're just so happy to be a part of their journey to being able to support the scholars.
Joining us is one of the donors of FFE, Dr. Mona Asnani. Thanks for being here. You know, there's around 200 organizations in the Bay Area. Why choose FFE?
Yeah, Foundation for Excellence has a very unique, self-sustaining circle of giving philosophy, so that the students, they pledge to help other students when their careers have established, so that's wonderful. And also we are very, very confident that our donations are reaching their intended target.
Dheeraj Pandey, thanks for being at the FFE event here today. There's around 200 organizations, nonprofit organizations in the Bay Area. What makes FFE so special?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity, and I feel like the more I talk to the students and the alums, the more I feel like there is a lot of focus on attention to detail. It's not just about giving money to them, it's also really the duty of care. Like the way they dealt with these students during COVID, the way they trained them during these interview sessions and soft skills. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes on at FFE, which is beyond just giving money to students, because money is necessary but not a sufficient condition for their upliftment.
Speaking of all the other skills that come along, like the soft skills, as an entrepreneur yourself, I was actually telling a few of my tech friends that I was going to be meeting you today. Nutanix chapter is closed for you. What is next in the books?
In many ways, I've opened a new chapter, a new book in some sense. It's called DevRev. It's a SaaS company in business software. A lot of lessons from Nutanix that I'm trying to apply to this new company. A lot of how do you really take customer love to the next level. You know, we were really good at with customers at Nutanix. Our net promoter score was above 90 for like 7 years. And the idea of DevRev is really to take that and make that into software. Like, what does it really mean to codify everything we did at Nutanix into pure software? So we'll see where things go. We've raised about $70 million in probably the Valley's largest seed round. Again, money is not necessary, but not a sufficient condition for success. So really focused on learning from customers and really making this something meaningful.
Well, congratulations on the next chapter. One of the things you had mentioned that you're taking lessons from Nutanix and applying them at DevRev. So if we can get on like few lessons, what are they? Because for our entrepreneur crowd, I'm sure they will love to get a tip from you.
Well, I think one of the biggest ones which I have to take away from Nutanix was really building something for customers. And we did it with a lot of people, like really good people with a lot of passion, great product, and a really good customer support. But if you take it to the next level of automating things and using machine learning and using AI for a lot of what people actually do in the world of customer support engineering, customer success engineering, the goal is to really make it so simple that any small company can actually just recreate the magic that we had back at Nutanix itself. And that's the first lesson. I think the couple others were more around continuous funding. You know, one of the things that we did at Nutanix was to really raise money once a year. And that's the old model of doing things. It's really about doing things in a waterfall way where once a year or once in 2 years you go and raise money. But now with the blockchain and what you could actually do with friends and family, you could do continuous funding, just like developers appreciated the agile way of writing code. I mean, there was continuous integration, continuous deployment. Now there's a notion of continuous funding where every month you can go and raise some money. So we go raise $1 million a month, and it's because they're friends and family, the people who will eventually use a product as well, who want to really be investing early. So we are building an order book of sorts. At some point, if we were to succeed as a company, these are the same people who probably will take us IPO as well. So that's the next lesson, and I think the last one is how do you really continue to, really double down on design. We've done a really good job of design at our last company, and but we started late. We were like the 4th year we really started to double down on design. Here, in terms of design of the product, even the organization, like going to India early, going to Eastern Europe early. We've done some things around organizational design as well, which hopefully will stretch the dollar further in.
How important, because you had mentioned earlier about customer love, investment in human capital for an organization. Can we take a minute to talk about how important it is to invest in your team members and human capital?
I mean, it's a cliche, but as you know, there's a lot of quiet resignations going on. People calling it like silent quitting and giving different names right now.
Great resignation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we, on the other hand, we saw this even at our last company where we didn't have attrition in Bangalore, for example, and everybody used to complain about Bangalore's market and how frothy it was. It's because we respected people and we valued their purpose. We gave them really good things to work on, because money, again, is a part of it. You want to pay people well and you want them to create generational wealth with equity, but they also need to be respected every day. And I think we looked at them as first among equals, and I think that's the important piece of the puzzle. The people come to work not just for a job. And if you want to have them just look at it as a job, they'll basically quit every couple of years. But if you have them really have that founder's mentality, that owner's mindset, they'll work with you for the customer for a long, long time.
People have desire. They have desire to grow personally in their career. But there is a time when you get stuck. How do you level up? How do you get past that point?
I use the word learning a lot, and a lot of it is reading. A lot of it is listening, and writing as well, And there's a writer's block, there's a reader's block in all of us. We feel like we are done with learning. I was talking to Amit Sinha, who is another guest here. He's the president at Zscaler. And the co-founder and CEO at Zscaler, Jay Chaudhary, is 63 and is still learning, look at his energy, the level of energy that he brings to the table. And so I look up to people like him and Vinod Khosla and Bill Gates and even Warren Buffett. I know again it's cliche to talk about these people, but Warren Buffett at 90 has more energy than many of us, and he 10x'd his wealth from 65 onwards. So between 65 years and 90 years of age, he 10x'd Berkshire Hathaway's overall assets, I look at Bill Gates, I look at Vinod, I learn a lot from Vinod. He's an investor in our company again, second time. But the level of energy he brings to the table, the amount of, this childlike mindset that he has, I think these are the kind of things that really get me going every day.
One final question. It's Sunday, and you know what that means? Sunday night football. So you have to answer this truthfully. Mr. Pandey, are you a 49er faithful?
I am, because of my son. He is at Harker and he plays a ton of football, and he'd like to be one of those footballers later in life, so we'll see.
Okay. Thanks. What is the new feature for FFE?
I think in the last few years, we have started emphasizing giving soft skills to our scholars, because our scholars come from a social background where some of the things we take for granted with our kids, they don't have that. How to shake hands, how to speak in English, how to ask questions, how to conduct yourself in interviews. So those are the kind of skills that we are now imparting, providing them one-on-one mentoring, providing them summer internship. So when they graduate, they're as competitive as anyone else in the thing. And that's a new emphasis. It's worked out really well.
Saurav, tell us, why did you choose FFE, and when you hear the students' impact that your money is making, what does that make you feel like?
So that's amazing feeling, because one of the great thing about FFE, you know exactly the donors, exactly the students who are being impacted by your contribution, and how it has, hear stories all the time, including what we'll hear today, but how specifically it had made a difference in their journey as they're trying to improve their station in life using education.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put your hands together for our MC for this evening, Jeff Applebaum.
Thank you, Amrita. Good evening, FFE. Come on, we have not been together in person in 3, 4, 10 years. Good evening, FFE. Let me hear you. Who's excited to be here in person, live, human beings across the table? Thank you so much. Give yourselves a hand for being here this evening on a wonderful Sunday night. You could do way better than that. I've seen you, I've talked to you. The food is good. You have a lot of energy. It is such an honor to be back. My name is Jeff Applebaum. I'm delighted to be your MC again. I want to thank Manu and Prabhu for having me here, and Venk and Abba Shukla for putting this all and having me come back here today. Give them all a big hand, please. Nice to see live faces. And I got a call from Abba, and she said, if you could perform anywhere on a Sunday night. I said, Abba, it would have to be at the FFE Gala, that's for sure, in Palo Alto. So how many folks are excited that the pandemic is over? Or is it? I'm just kidding, so totally kidding. I don't know about you, but my timing is not so good. I finally paid off my student loans, and then the next week they announced that they're canceling debt, right? That reminds me of that time I bought that gluten factory. I'm gonna wait for you. Some of these are hard, thank you. He got that, okay? I got a joke for everybody, so pay attention. But who's happy we get to go out and travel again? Who's excited to travel and go around the world again? That's right. I just got back from New York, where I traveled there on Delta variant. It's a dying airline. Now we're all traveling on Air Omicron. I'm sorry, Spirit Air. And how many other people had the virus? Who else had the virus? Herpes? You too? No, totally kidding. Ladies, I'm free and clear. Just kidding, folks. I want to see if you're paying attention. Thank you. How you doing? So Abba's like, why did we invite him back? I don't know why. I had the lambda variant. Whoever watched Revenge of the Nerds, because I am a nerd. The Greeks are actually upset. They're saying, will you stop using our alphabet for all the different variants? They're okay as long as we don't start naming the variants after the Greek yogurts, right? It's like, which one do you have? I have the Chobani variant. How you feeling? Creamy, that's right. But do you know that there's some places that actually still check your status when you go in? I went to an event last week, and I went up to the door, and they came up to me. They said, which one did you get to protect against the virus? And I said, McAfee. I expected more from this group, but that's okay. Thank you so much. Of course, Norton 360 was way too expensive, so. I cannot believe it is already October of 2020. The year is just going so fast. I'm still getting ready for Y2K, right? I've got bottled water and canned tuna fish in my garage that has gone bad by now. I mean, but really, the year went bad. We had all those. There was so much, not only did we have COVID, there were so many fires and all the smoke in the air. As a matter of fact, there was so much smoke in the air, I thought they were electing a new pope. And that doesn't correspond to me or any of you here, but you could still laugh at the joke. It's okay, it doesn't matter. But no, it was like last year would never end. I call it Forever 2021. Incidentally, is where I shop. And but life post-pandemic, Abba, is different now. We now see doctors. Many of you are doctors here. We now see many of you online. How many people here have had a telemedicine visit, a doctor visit online, right? Prostate self-exam? You too? Yes? Did I lose anybody yet? Again, they're going to get harder, so I really need you to pay attention. And I was telling that story last week and somebody was going like this. I'm like, sir, was that 2 exams or 2 fingers? Because that's a whole different level of pain, okay? Now, I know you're eating. Don't worry about it. Now, by the way, how about a hand for Amber? Wasn't that food delicious tonight? Delicious food here tonight. So let's see how many of you appreciate this. To prepare for my online doctor visit, I pre-ordered the Highlights magazine. Thank you, right? And they sent me their most recent copy from August of '86. And I sat on my couch and I read the magazine for an hour before the doctor showed up on the screen. It was just like being at his office. That's right. But now life is different, and it's funny, when comedy clubs first started opening up again, it was at 25% capacity, which I called pre-pandemic sold out. And thank you. But also now the first phone call, when I get phone calls to perform, first question they ask me is, are you vaccinated? And I'm like, yeah, which is way less pressure when they used to ask, are you funny? Not this week, but we all had to improvise. In 2020, I actually performed at a parking lot in Santa Cruz. It was the 3rd time I wore pants all year long. And folks, my career is going out faster than the Spirit Halloween store on November 1st, okay? Thank you. And it was a parking lot in Santa Cruz, so we had to apologize to all the drug dealers we interrupted. And the way this worked is that they had an FM transmitter on a stick, and cars would drive up and tune into the station, and if they liked your act, they would blink their lights on and off. And my goal was 3 dead batteries. That's right. But that's all behind us, and tonight we're going to party like it's 2019. Who's with me on that, right? Remember that, when we could party? And we also got to perform on Zoom. How many people got Zoomed out? Anybody? Many of you may work for Zoom. Who got Zoomed out, right? Think about this. That's right. I perform, my friend, I perform for my people, our people, the engineers, on Zoom. Think about this. Take the world's most socially awkward people, except for all of you, of course, and put them all on mute. It was like performing in a cemetery, is what I'm trying to say, right? The next day, I did a show for a group of lawyers. That was great. I did 20 minutes, but I billed them for the whole hour. That's right. So, thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week. And life is different. We order everything online now. At 4 times, how many of you place an order and then you realize you forgot something? You place in who's done that all the time? And here's what, last week, this delivery truck pulls up in front of my house. I look out the window, and out walks this tall, gorgeous, beautiful, athletic blonde woman. And I thought I had ordered from Amazon. Not an Amazon, okay? And she talked to me because I have Prime. That's the joke right there, right there. But there's some actually good things that happened during the pandemic. I have to tell you this. In the state of California, grocery stores were giving away paper bags for free for the first 6 months. Who was excited about that, right? Because as you know, in California, if you walk into a grocery store and you're not carrying a recyclable bag that says Trader Joe's, they look at you like you're a criminal. They really do. It's like, misuse of fossil fuels, aisle 6, misuse of fossil fuels. And then I went to the mall last week for smash and grab. Those mannequins are heavy. And anybody? Thank you. Good. It's okay. These are not for everybody, but if you got that, thank you. That was for you. And every time I used to go to the shopping mall, they used to always come up to me. There was always that one person that would come up to me like this. Chanel, Chanel. Now they come up to me, Purell, Purell. Life is different, folks. So, are you guys ready for a good evening tonight? You ready to get this thing started? So we have a wonderful program, and I'm always so touched by what you do here and the difference that you make in lives. The whole concept of paying it forward. If we could have this established and running throughout our government, I would be very happy. I'm just going to leave it at that. But thank you all. Give yourselves a hand for being here today. We have a great evening. And to kick us off, I want to do this right. And notice, we got the podium out of the way because they're going to take up the whole stage and entertain us all this evening. I want to give them the proper introduction. And you have, how many of you enjoyed seeing them earlier out in the courtyard when we heard from the Leela Youth Dance Company? So let me tell you a little bit more about them. They are an elite pre-professional performing group under the artistic direction of Kathak artist Reena Mehta. The program champions excellence in Kathak, which is North Indian classical dance. Through world-class training, the program it teaches teens to develop their voices and become cultural ambassadors within their communities and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the Leela Youth Dance Company. That was absolutely wonderful. I know their parents are in the back and are very proud. Give a hand for the parents who drove them to all the dance rehearsals we know. And also, I was just told that anybody that wants to come up on stage and repeat that dance, Venk will double the donation tonight, okay? Remember that there. By the way, they're all promised for marriage. By the way, we all work in tech, but here's the one thing. The one industry that boomed and I know that Abba asked me to share this story again. The big industry that boomed during the pandemic, of course, was we all work on such complicated transistors, but the industries that boom is online dating. A lot of you here are very much involved in online dating. You have your Match.com, Christian Mingle. See, I love those. I love the commercials for, not here, I know him. I love the commercials for Christian Mingle because my people, we have J-Date. Thank you. J-Date, because it could never be Jew Mingle. Thank you. It's like Jew Mingle. No Jew. Jess. Joe Soy Mingle. As you know, every group has their own dating website. I'm here amongst many Shadi.com users. Shadi.com, where you actually get an email sent to your parents first before you... And I'll tell you, right after college, I went on a date with this beautiful woman from India, and I wanted to relate to them, but her parents weren't very happy about it because I didn't have a PhD, but I did win a spelling bee once, so they accepted me. And now, are these too hard? Okay, no. Now, when my people meet, we play something called Jewish geography. What's your name? Where's your family from? I love it. People from India meet, they tell each other their name. Very often from the name alone, you could tell the exact city or region of India where you're from. So far, so good, right? And I watched these two people from India meet last week. One said, my name is Kandaswamy. She goes, you're from Madras. She said, yes. I said, wow. And I, too, have developed the same skill. I met this lady from India last week. I said, you tell me your name. I will tell you exactly where you're from. She said, Patel. I said, Fremont. So. Because I am teachable, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're having a good time? All right, we are ready to get into the heart of our program. Another hand for the Leela Dance Company. Weren't they great, the youth company? That was wonderful. Now, it is with great pleasure that you have a lot of distinguished people here tonight and folks who have made a difference around the world. And your first speaker I'm going to introduce tonight is your founder of FFE. Let me tell you a little bit about somebody you know very well. Dr. Prabhu Goyal is an active private venture investor. He served on the boards of many private companies and 2 public companies. From 1982 to 1989, Dr. Goyal was the founder, CEO, and chairman of Gateway Design Automation Corporation, which was acquired by Cadence Design Systems in 1989, a company I know very well, 30 years working with them. Dr. Goyal graduated from the IIT Kanpur and was the recipient of the President's Gold Medal for Academic Excellence. Yes. He received his PhD in 1998. Work with me, okay? In electrical engineering from Carnegie Mellon University. In 1980, he's a time traveler too, by the way, okay? He received the IBM Corporate Award for Outstanding Innovation. Dr. Goyal also received the Entrepreneur of the Year Award for 1989 for Massachusetts. Dr. Goyal won the 2003 IEEE Industrial Pioneer Award for his work on design modeling and design verification through Verilog and Verilog-based design that we all still use today. Dr. Goyal is an active philanthropist and has supported many organizations. He was a founding member of TIE, the Indus Entrepreneur, and also the founder of FFE. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Help us welcome Dr. Prabhu Goyal.
So good evening, everybody. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you here today. And thank you for your support. The fact that you're here means a lot to me. It really means a lot to FFE and to all the people that work very hard to make FFE happen on a day-to-day basis. So I want to start by just telling you a little bit of history around FFE, how it started. So as Jeff said, in 1990, we sold our company to Cadence. And all of a sudden, we realized as a family, we had more money than we knew what to do with. So the question that came up is, how are you going to spend it? So obviously, one thing you could do, just spend it on yourself, but that was not obvious as to how it could be done. And we said, what is the moral imperative over here? What are you going to do with this money? How are you going to spend it? And the answer after some thinking about it was, we're really not owners of this wealth. So what we realized was, we're really custodians of this wealth, not owners. And why did we say custodians? Because you start to think back and you realize you come empty-handed into this world, you leave empty-handed, and whatever your duration is over here is the amount of time for which you hold onto your wealth. And when you're gone, it's not yours anymore. That's why we're custodians. And as custodians, what is your obligation? Your obligation is to have the maximum impact around you, to do the best for everyone that you can, because ultimately what you leave with is those are the things that you have done in your life that have helped others. There's only so much you can do for yourself. And I think it's in that spirit we decided that we had to make some commitment to ourselves that we had to do something with our wealth. And my wife and I, where is she? I don't see her now, but we noodled around a little bit and we figured that, thank her, because without her I could not have done that, both the company as well as this commitment. So we decided that we're going to make a transformational difference in the lives of 10,000 children in India. We didn't know how we were going to do it, but we knew it has to be a transformational difference, otherwise the impact was not measurable. And we said that in order to make sure that we deliver, we're going to make it public that we have that commitment. So when we had a little celebration with about 15, 20 friends of the Cadence acquisition, we made it public that this was our commitment. A year later, we moved to California, and in the process, we were thinking, how do we implement this commitment? And the thought that came was, maybe if we found the very bright but very poor children in India that were eligible to become engineers and doctors, but couldn't afford their education, and we funded their education through the college. Maybe that's the way we could make a transformation in their lives. Why? Because, you know, if they become professionals, they become self-sufficient. And I think that was sufficiently transformational. So we socialized that idea with a number of people in the Bay Area, and fortunately, we found people that resonated with it very quickly. And we were able to form a team of about 5 or 10 people, along with a lot of seniors that were then working with the ICC who came on board as volunteers. And that's when the notion of the Foundation for Excellence was formed. And we actually funded our first scholar in India in 1994. So today, it's 28 years since we started this journey. And I have to tell you that sharing with others, the thing that I realized, that we realized, is the biggest source of happiness. You can consume anything you want, but the problem is that consumption lasts either a few seconds, a few minutes, or a few hours, and then it's over, right? Great food, great wine, jet setting, no matter what you call it, it's a temporary pleasure. But when you have helped somebody else, I can assure you from our experience that the pleasure is a lifetime worth of experience. And that's really what makes this something that is so exciting for us, so rewarding for us, and so blissful, if you will. So I want to share a few quotes that I came across recently that actually symbolize why one should give. Yes. So Chuck Feeney is a philanthropist that I had not heard about until last year. He's probably one of the most amazing philanthropists you'll ever hear about. He made $8 billion in wealth. And you know how much he kept for himself? $2 million. He gave away everything. And his principle was, give it away when you're living. You don't wait till you're dead. Because when you're dead, you're not the one that gets the benefit of having given it away. Somebody else does. So that's the reason why I think that's a very appropriate message. Let me take the next one. So what did Confucius say? And I discovered this also last year. He said, if you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. And if you want happiness for a lifetime, go help somebody else. It is really true, it works. And let's go to the third one. Again, this one also I discovered last year. So this is a famous Jewish philosopher from the Middle Ages, Maimonides. And what he says is there are 8 levels of charity. And he said the highest level of charity is when you help somebody so that he's no longer, he's dependent on somebody else. And when you think about what FFE does, we transform them from a situation where they completely become self-sufficient. Not only that, they're capable of helping others. So with that, thank you very much for listening to me. So I'd like to take this occasion to recognize and honor one of our most impactful donors. And that donation came last year. And I thought since we've had this gala after 3 years, it would be very appropriate to not miss this recognition for that donor. Unfortunately, the donor could not be here in person because that donor is not in great health, but we were able to get his daughter to come here and take the honor in for him. Let me read you a little bit about him. His name is Gul Asnani. Mr. Gul Asnani was an electrical engineer by career and was involved in various philanthropic causes. He was instrumental in a large fundraising effort for a group of first-generation Indians in Allentown, Pennsylvania in 1980s. That's when not enough Indians were in the US, so he was helping the community preserve its cultural heritage as well. They built a Hindu temple from the ground up, and he was the first president of that temple. In India, he was one of the earliest supporters to the Dharamshala Cancer Center in New Delhi. He donated their first MRI machine to inaugurate the hospital. He continued on as a major fundraiser for them, and they recently honored him for 25 years of outstanding contribution in transforming the cancer scene in India. He's been very active with Rotary International and generating funds to provide computers and school supplies and medicines to schools and villages in India and Central America. One of his favorite projects was contributing to Baba Amte and his son Prakash Amte's organization to build hostels that allowed children in remote villages to attend school. You can see the theme of his life work, education and medicine. Through his donations to FFE, he's able to accomplish both of his favorite themes. Because we support education, we also support medicine through the medical students that we support. So I'll take the liberty of announcing what he gave us last year. I don't know if Mona, where is Mona? Do you mind if I? Thank you. He gave us a donation of $400,000. So we're very touched. Makes you very emotional, but that's the kind of a person he was. He is. So I'd like to introduce Mona, who's his daughter here. Mona, if you just raise your hand for a second. So my mom and doctor, she's a doctor. She's a pediatrician and loves to work with children. Her mom and my mom were dear sisters. And her mom, my Masi, was a brilliant and well-loved pediatrician. And she's following in her footsteps as the owner and founder of Miracle Mile Pediatrics in Los Angeles. Go. And she has taken care of thousands of children and families in the Los Angeles area over the past 23 years. And it's obvious how much her patients love her. Why? The social media fans out there. She has the most positive reviews amongst her peers in Los Angeles, with almost 150 five-star reviews on Google Business and more than 80 on Yelp, and frequently appears in the top 10 best pediatricians in Los Angeles. She has won the Los Angeles Top Doc Award for Pediatrics 3 times in the past 4 years. She's a frequent medical guest on news radio and TV shows in Los Angeles. At various times in her career, she has been lecturing at UCLA School of Medicine, and she's been a part-time faculty member at the Cedars-Sinai Pediatric Department as well. So with that, I'm sure you'd agree, this is an occasion that we must honor the Asnani family. So if I could please have her plaque.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. My father, Gul Asnani, would have loved to be here, but I'm honored to be here on his behalf. My dad has been a supporter and donor of Foundation for Excellence for more than a decade. Obviously, he knew about FFE through my super smart and kind cousin. You all know him as Dr. Prabhu Goyal. I know him as Prabhakar Bhaiya. Obviously there are so many charities out there, so how do you choose? Which one is meaningful? For our family, for my dad especially, the unique, self-sustaining circle of giving philosophy that FFE has was very special. Also, we are confident that all of our donations are reaching their intended target. So I hope you join us in becoming supporters of FFE in the years to come. Thank you.
Next, I have the privilege and honor to introduce our keynote speaker today, a very distinguished individual, Dheeraj Pandey, sitting right up there. He's the co-founder, CEO, and chairman of DevRev.ai, and was the founder, CEO, and chairman of Nutanix, a company that is very well known in the Valley. Other than Nutanix, he currently also sits on the board of directors at Adobe, Inc., and is a member of their audit committee. Dheeraj co-founded Nutanix in 2009, which has gone on to become a multi-billion-dollar company with thousands of employees in over 60 countries. NTNX was the largest software IPO in all of 2016. Awesome. His entrepreneurial spirit has been recognized with a number of prestigious awards, including Dell Founders 50, the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award from Silicon Valley. Sorry, like Bill Gates, not Steve Jobs. Dheeraj is a PhD dropout. Bill Gates was a Harvard dropout, so Dheeraj thought he was a good example to follow. From the University of Texas in Austin, where he was a graduate fellow of computer science. He holds a BS in computer science from, guess which IIT? Yes. Where he was adjudged the best all-rounder student among all graduating students in all disciplines, and he was bestowed with the Distinguished Alumnus Award. Through their foundation, Paramhans Philanthropies, his wife Swapna and Dheeraj have made a grant of $10 million to the University of Texas, Austin, to further cross-departmental research in computational technology, oncology. Technologists don't think technology, it's oncology here. This is their way of learning to age gracefully, being a fly on the wall with researchers in life sciences. They're equally learning by giving to OSAT, which I think is one school at a time, that Jagdish is the chairman of, Site Care for COVID hospitals, and Heart to Heart Foundation. That's a lot of causes. What Dheeraj got from the J.N. Tata Endowment Fund and K.C. Mahindra Education Trust when he was 21, he and his wife want to give that back. That's fantastic. That's our circle of giving, and much more to education and those who strive for it. Thank you so much, Dheeraj, and welcome.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to all of you for being here. That was an electric dance performance. And I know Jeff from my previous life. You're kind of funny, too, so that was good. Well, good evening, and thank you all for being here. I've made a small note here, and it's going to take the torch of happiness from Dr. Goel. I'm going to speak a little bit about happiness, so bear with me as I go through this rendition. But my wife, Swapna, and I have a 12-year-old boy and twin girls who are 8. I apologize on behalf of my wife. She couldn't make it here. Busy with her 3 kids. Their homework for tomorrow, and she's busy laying the foundation for their excellence as well. So. I want to thank Abha and Venk for really introducing me to this great cause here, the Foundation for Excellence. And thank you, Sudha, Prarthna, and Ram for really making it possible for me to talk about stories. So I'm going to speak a story of happiness. For a lot of the kids that I actually met with, I Zoomed with when I was in India, I promised Sudha I'll go back to FFE's office when I go next time to Bangalore. I visit there 4 times a year now because of my new company. But it was really, the happiness was palpable talking to these folks out there as well. So I wanted to start out just defining happiness. What's happiness? I did some research, and by the way, this is one of my favorite articles I read in the last several years. And I made a little note. I typically, compile these albums of pictures, screenshots, and things that I actually just keep in my album. So the other day I was going through my most quotable quotes, and one of them that actually stuck out was about happiness. So what's happiness? Sonia Lyubomirsky, a professor of psychology at the University of California, Riverside, she's a happiness researcher and author, suggests thinking of happiness as being both happy in your life and being happy with your life. Being happy in your life is the experience of fairly frequent positive emotions like tranquility, joy, curiosity, pride, affection, etc. Happiness with your life is feeling an overall sense of satisfaction, that your life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. Happiness isn't gratification, although we tend to equate them, said Christine Carter, author of The New Adolescence, and senior fellow at Greater Good Science Center at the University of California, Berkeley. And she quotes, in our culture, we are widely confused about the difference between something that is gratifying or pleasurable and something that will actually foster a positive emotion, which is what Dr. Goel was talking about, like happiness. She said, pleasure is fleeting. Positive emotions, on the other hand, persist, reversing our fight or flight response and activating a part of the brain that doesn't leave us wanting more. Fostering positive emotions like gratitude is going to create a lasting sense of well-being. This gathering today is not about being happy with life, which all of us probably are, given that we are here after a long and tenuous journey with learning, competing, immigrating, marrying, founding, parenting, caring, and finally learning and competing again for our children's sake. This gala is about relaxing, about walking barefoot, about cloud gazing, about dreaming, about finding what would make us happy in life, fostering positive emotions like gratitude or giving. It's about learning to give as parents, so your children, our children, also learn to not just be happy with life, but also become happy in life. The dopamine of a new Tesla, a new iPhone, a new TikTok video, or several likes on Instagram is fleeting. The joy of teaching your children what it means to give is pure oxytocin. This dinner is about that pride, that affection of relating to those who are not your family to begin with, but will become one with your mindfulness in your abundant life that you are happy with. Of course, giving is also not about spraying and praying, as we say in the Silicon Valley. It's about going deep with a few noble causes. My wife Swapna and I have gone deep with oncology, biology, life sciences, and healthcare. After all, we also got a lot from the people around us, our extended family, and also folks that I never knew when I met them first. Folks at IIT Kanpur, the Jane Tata Endowment Fund, the KC Mahindra Education Trust, and finally University of Texas, Austin. They all helped shape my life to the extent that I can say that I'm happy with life. My wife and I continue to find ways to foster positive emotions, which is the reason for our going deep with philanthropy. Tonight, I want to share with you a few stories of Foundation for Excellence alums who look back at their lives, describe how they are finding ways to be happy with life, while simultaneously finding ways to stay happy in life with their giving. I quote an alum who would prefer to stay anonymous. Quote, "My father worked at a private college as a clerk, and my mother was a housewife, and his monthly salary of 9,000 rupees, Indian rupees, couldn't afford daily expenses. Fortunately, with the help of Ramakrishna Ashram, got introduced to Foundation for Excellence and applied for a scholarship," unquote. There's another alum, Naveen, who's a BTech undergraduate from 2021, who says, quote, "After receiving scholarship, I continued to work on weekends. If not for FFE, I would have worked on weekdays as well to earn money. FFE gave me the freedom for food." I'm going to repeat this. FFE gave me the freedom for food. "I strongly believe that education is a birthright for everyone," unquote. Gaurang, a BTech undergraduate from 2003, now at NVIDIA, says, "I'd started borrowing money from my relatives in initial months, but that was not sustainable for them as well to keep helping me for longer term. I had to manage with extremely tight budget. Thus had to make a lot of compromises. I stayed in a hostel within a temple and started providing seva for subsidized stay, which also got me a free meal once in a day. It was a struggle to have healthy 2 meals a day. FFE funded me for remaining 3 years, which took my worries away completely about major expenses and allowed me to stay focused on my studies," unquote. Akshay, a BTech undergrad from 2020, now at Nutanix, says, by the way, 2 of them were at Nutanix. That's very, very coincidental to have both of them work. "I was able to get admission into an IIT, and it is having the most beautiful and planned fee structure. It was giving me a full tuition fee waiver, but still there was some miscellaneous charges like mess fees and other educational expenses like books, summing up to 55,000 Indian rupees per annum. If FFE wouldn't have been there, I'd probably opted for an educational loan." And read this again, "opted for an educational loan, which may have delayed all my brother's career aspirations." So there's also side effects of taking these educational loans. I mean, yeah, they're loans, but what does it do to the rest of the family who actually needs to also get to school and get through college, which may have delayed all my brother's career aspirations. Finally, I want to talk about karma and what goes around comes around. These children are now giving back at such a young age while they continue to figure out what it means to be happy with life. Many of them have yet to experience immigrating, marrying, founding, and parenting, and yet they are already mindful about what it means to seek happiness in life. Gaurang says, I quote, through my own contribution and through spreading word in my circle, I've got 9 engineering students adopted so far and sponsored their 4 years engineering expenses and raised funds for general scholarships. Another proud feeling I get is I could become a kind of a role model being the first engineer in my family. I could help my younger cousins to take up engineering courses and build a great career and lift a family out of financial struggle as well, unquote. Our anonymous alum says, quote, I have contributed monetarily regularly for the past 7 years since I joined my first company, Dell, and currently have adopted a scholar, unquote. Akshay, one of our other alums, says, we were fighting some of the very prevalent social evils in the community like child marriages, child labor, gambling and drinking, domestic violence and superstition, and even trafficking in the name of marriages, unquote. Such maturity at such a young age. They're all seeking happiness, like all of us gathered here. Fortunately, they're beginning to find it sooner than many of us have. To wrap it up, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, one really profound virtue of FFE. They have an immense duty of care. Thank you, Sudha, for really bringing that attention to detail. The way they lead and nurture their relationship with these budding students. Akshay said this to me, FFE trained us with mock interviews for both technology and people interviews, and this gives us a better chance of having confidence at the time of the real placement interviews itself. There's one more thing which helped me sustain my life was FFE even cared for these students during the time of COVID when we had already graduated. It was a very difficult time for my family. The company where I was placed delayed the joining, and FFE came to the rescue by giving us monetary help in that time as well. Honestly, it's very difficult to imagine myself even at half the success I am currently right now without FFE's presence in my life. So much of attention to detail and how it is more than just simply throwing money at the problem. Money is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition for success and for giving. We all urge you to invest your time, perhaps with your own children and parents, to go seek that positive emotion that will bring happiness in your life. Thank you.
Big hand for Dheeraj Pandey. What a wonderful message on happiness. That applies to every aspect of our lives. And I have to tell you, Dheeraj, I have had the pleasure of working with Nutanix, performing with them and working with their teams over the last 10 years. And there's so many people that have come up to me all the time and told me not only how excited they were about how you led the company, but how you personally encouraged them and lifted them up. So another big hand for Dheeraj, who also lives the message that he shared today. And that's a great message about making a difference in people and giving back. And as a matter of fact, our next speaker is going to talk about the return on investment that you're all doing here today, not just investing in today, but in the next generation. You guys ready to get started? Wake me up when you're ready, okay? Are you ready to get started? Let me remind you that we're not doing this on Zoom. We are here in person. Who's excited to be here in person, to look across the table and see somebody else, to take a plate of that delicious food and that delicious dessert I just had? What's the name of that sugary dessert that tasted delicious? I believe you. Okay. But I'm going to take another plate. So whatever you don't eat, I'm taking home. Okay, so. But ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure I get to introduce to you your next speaker. Dr. Sudha Kidau first became involved with FFE in 2005 when she began to volunteer her time for FFE's fundraising efforts in California. Her involvement in FFE grew after she moved to Bangalore in 2007, first heading up the India Management Committee and then setting up FFE's office in Bangalore. In February of 2011, she was appointed Managing Trustee of FFE India Trust, assuming this responsibility as a full-time volunteer of the trust. Prior to FFE, she was doing nothing. Listen to what she was doing. Sudha was involved in the management and conduct of large-scale clinical trials in varied therapeutic areas. Her primary interest was in the prevention and treatment of HIV/AIDS. She was involved in the management of the world's first HIV vaccine trial conducted in Thailand while at the startup venture VaxGen. She served as a consultant to a number of biotech companies in the US, including the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative, IAVI, a New York-based not-for-profit organization involved in the development and testing of preventative HIV vaccines, for whom she helped to develop vaccine trial protocols for Africa and India. Sudha has a PhD in biology with a specialization in immunology from the University of Texas at Austin, and a bachelor's and master's degree in zoology from the University of Madras. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome Dr. Sudha Kidal.
Good evening, everyone. It's such a delight that Dr. Prabhu Goel and Poonam Goel are able to bring us all together this evening, because we all believe and are committed to the cause of the Foundation for Excellence. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you, and thank you for making happiness very core to what we are doing. And I must say that my involvement with FFE has been for that exact reason, the deep sense of satisfaction and happiness that this work brings. I'd like to start by giving you a little bit more information about where we are with FFE and our journey in the last 28 years. So, as Prabhu mentioned, this is an organization that's well established, a 28-year track record. And what do we do? As you all are aware, we award scholarships to students who are very bright but have faced financial hardships. And today we support students in 4 very difficult disciplines. When I say difficult, I mean very competitive disciplines to get admission to in the best colleges in India, which is engineering and medicine. And more recently, we've also added pharmacy and law. So students qualify by attaining a very good rank, and they also come from families where there is demonstrated financial difficulty. And the Foundation for Excellence supports them through scholarships through their entire journey of education, because the mission of the foundation is accomplished when their lives are transformed after they graduate and go on to get jobs. We find that many of our students are the first in their families to even access higher education. And we're really proud that they become role models for the next generation, for their communities, for their families, and for the nation. Our work is supported by a very strong and eminent board in the US, and it is led by our very dynamic and passionate and driven president, Minu Gupta. Minu, please stand. Thank you for all that you do for the foundation. And the Indian entity, which is the Foundation for Excellence India Trust, we also have an eminent board of trustees that govern the organization, and both the boards, of course, work very closely together. And our focus entirely has been on the scholarship program and additional ancillary programs that I'll talk to you about very briefly. So I want to mention that the journey of FFE in the last decade has been steady and quite steep. As you can see, in the last decade, we have gone on to support, particularly last year, over 10,000 students in a single year. And I'm very proud to say that FFE is the largest scholarship granting organization in India today in the higher education space, which has a presence in 28 states, 4 union territories. We work with a lot of other organizations, and we find that we are able to reach students in the most remote corners of India and make a difference. I do want to mention that we've supported over 30,000 students to date, and you can see in a single year, we've awarded scholarships for over $6 million. Last year, as you all know, was a year of hardship for everyone. And as Dheeraj mentioned, we had students who had lost family members to COVID. It was a difficult year for everyone. But it was a spectacular year for FFE in that all our donors stepped up. And we really achieved a milestone last year. Over 10,000 students were supported through donations that came from people like you and a lot of corporates and others who together we were able to support over 10,000 students. And you can see the gender, it's, 75% of our students are men. We definitely are working to get more women, qualifying women students into our family, into the FFE family, and support them through their higher education goals. The other aspect is that our engineering program is very well established. A large percentage of our students are in the engineering program. We do have students in the medical field as well. And we've added 2 new programs, pharmacy and law, when we celebrated our 25th anniversary in 2019. And while those numbers are small, we know and we're confident that those are programs that are going to grow. This is just to let you know that we have an all-India presence, and the colors are a relative distribution of students in various parts of India. As you can see, there are areas where we hope we can get more students into our fold. This is a very important aspect of the Foundation for Excellence, the circle of giving and self-sustainability. And I'd like to just touch upon this. Every scholarship recipient, every scholarship awardee signs a pledge at the time that they get their scholarship. And it is really a moral obligation, which is that they will support the education of at least 2 students like themselves whenever they can by making a contribution to the foundation. And if every student were to honor this pledge of support, FFE would be a self-sustaining organization. And how wonderful would that be that, generations of students will be supported by alumni. So that is the power, the multiplier effect of giving and paying forward. And I'm very proud of our alumni. There are several of them here today. Please make sure to speak to them as well and hear, their journeys. But our alumni, last year alone, over 1,500 of them contributed over 1.5 crores. And what else do? They connect to their networks, their personal, their professional networks. And in India, they have connected to the companies where they work. So we have got funds from corporate social responsibility initiatives. So together with all of this, our alumni are more than paying forward. I also want to mention that alumni today are mentors to students. They volunteer and they refer students to the foundation for scholarships. Next slide, please. And as Dheeraj mentioned, FFE today is, the scholarship is well beyond financial support. What we want to do is to make sure that students who have very high potential are able to succeed and achieve their dreams. And the way FFE is doing this is through a skilling program where we're making sure that students get financial support, which is then layered with skills for employability, career readiness skills so that they can go on, learn English, aptitude, mock interviews, and skills that we take for granted, but that makes a difference to students with these backgrounds. And the idea is to really skill them so that they can go on and compete, get the jobs that they dream about, and we can see a transformation in a single generation, which is the mission of the foundation. So this skilling program is very unique to the foundation and to our students. It's something that they really value, funded entirely by the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, our partner, as well as Capgemini. In addition to this, so we have the scholarship program, which is financial assistance. We've layered it now with skilling, and to top it all, we have a very strong mentoring program. Again, it's to do with skills for employability, so that students feel confident when they go on to interview for internships and jobs. And so you can have a student in Chhattisgarh mentored by an engineer in Robert Bosch in Bangalore, done virtually. And this has absolutely been transformational. So let me also mention that this kind of scholarship program is unique in India. There is nothing quite like this. And we find that this is what makes a difference. Financial assistance, along with a very robust training program and a mentoring program. So I'd like to also say that our donor partners, particularly corporates today, provide internships. They provide learning opportunities, webinars, technical training, and all of that that really make our students, our scholars, so much more competitive and hence successful. Next slide, please. And how is all of this possible? Thanks to donors like all of you. Thank you for supporting the foundation. In addition, we have over 70 corporates in India who support us, all our scholars, for the complete education, the period of education. We also have a large number of foundations, like the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, the Aditya Birla Group's World of Opportunity Foundation, and others. We also work with a large number of partner NGOs that work with students on the ground and then who refer those students to the foundation for scholarships. So it's a growing ecosystem, it's dynamic, and that's what makes this program so successful and differentiates our scholarship program from anything else that's out there. And how do we make this all happen? We have a team that is under the leadership of Ram Kolavenu, our Chief Operating Officer, and this very dynamic, passionate, driven team in Bangalore, 33 of us, that we are able to implement this, the main scholarship program and the ancillary programs. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. Let me just tell you that last year, we had over 16,000 applications, and we were able to support about 3,800 of them. We have a long ways to go, and we need all of you to be part of this journey, to help more students, and let's all make that difference together. So thank you for your time. Thank you. And now I think it's time to hear what our scholars and our alumni have to say. So.
भगवान खड़े हैं तुम्हारा हेल्प करने के लिए, वही है एफएफई मेरे लिए। अगर नहीं मिलता तो पापा पे बहुत प्रेशर होता, वो बोलते नहीं, वो बोलते हैं कि तुम लोग बस पढ़ो, पैसा का हम देख लेंगे, बट वो कैसे देखेंगे, कुछ नहीं है देखने को। बहुत पढ़ने का शौक था, इतना पढ़ने का शौक था कि जैसे हमारा माँ बाप से उतना खर्चा नहीं जुटा, परिस्थिति वो लोग का खराब था तो हम नहीं पढ़ पाए, लेकिन हम सोचते थे कि हमारा बच्चा होगा ना तो हम खूब पढ़ाएंगे।
हर वक्त इसको बोलते थे कि हम लोग तो नहीं पढ़े, तुम पढ़ो, बिना शिक्षा के घर का विकास होगा नहीं, यही कहते थे उसको।
होता है, वो मम्मी को पहले देना है, फिर उसके बाद ना पापा का इनर वेयर लेना है, उनके कपड़े फटे होते हैं। हम लोग के लिए होली दशहरा में वो कपड़े खरीद देते हैं, बट खुद के लिए तो वो भी नहीं खरीदते। मेरा अगर सैलरी आया तो उनके लिए 10-12 इनरवेयर्स खरीदूंगी और पहनने के लिए कपड़े खरीदूंगी।
सींचा है मैंने किरणों को धीरे धीरे हौले हौले, उड़ना है आसमानों में, छूना है उन तारों को, धूप की कच्ची रोशनी में सवरेंगे नए ख्वाब मेरे।
I would like to thank my donors who provide me such a huge amount. It needs a very large heart to donate such a big amount.
पूरी करने की आशा है आज मुझे।
So what we have observed in the last 25 years of our experience is that they have studied in vernacular medium schools, have a clear disadvantage because of challenges related to soft skills and other skill gaps that they lack. FFE has decided to bridge the skill gap through specific kinds of trainings so that they can compete and get the best jobs that they aspire to.
ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಟೌನಿಂದ ಬಂದು ಈ ಥರ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕಾಲೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ನರ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ಸೈಲೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ FFE ಇಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಿದೆ.
The skills training program added a real value to my training and placements because it gave me a different exposure than the curriculum that is followed in the college.
FLY, this program has helped me in improving my communication skills and self-development skills.
They helped me grow, like even the English courses, the Coursera courses and the mock interviews. So they literally planned my whole journey.
I owe my thanks to my mentor. She is my pillar of support.
देखा है नया दिन नई राहें, देखा है सपनों को संवरते हुए।
Apart from FFE's monetary help, it also enhanced us through the knowledge of medical webinars, QMed courses, as well as skills and mentorship program.
Advani Foundation training helped us in improving our interpersonal skills and professional skills and even communication skills.
In order to make the optimal choice, they need the right piece of information about their aspiration. So through this one-on-one mapping, based on the background and aspirations, it gives them the ability to make right decisions for future.
Having a good mentor is a blessing for you, and FFE provide me that.
Had not been for my mentor, I wouldn't have selected the current job. Actually, this is the perfect job for me.
Transforming lives has to be well-rounded. Our scholars go through employability skills, training and one-on-one mentoring. If you look at the yardstick of salaries, it's literally doubled from the time which we started this intervention.
नॉर्मली लोग सोचते हैं कि 7 भी मिल जाए तो सही है, बट मैंने थोड़ा मेहनत किया था तो सोचा था कि 14-15 भी मिल जाए तो बहुत खुश रहेंगे। मैम ये तो 18 मिला, फिर जहाँ कुछ नहीं था वहाँ इतना आ रहा है। तो
देखा है सपनों को संवरते हुए।
How about another hand for Sudha and all the people in the video, all the students that are benefiting, all the difference that you make. And how about a hand again tonight for Prabhu, his message. Give him a hand. And what D-Raj shared about happiness. And here's the greatest part of the next part of our evening is that you get to continue to make a difference for the next generation. How many people, like D-Raj said, it's not just about what you have here today, but it's also about what you give to the next generation. How many folks could use a little bit of good feeling inside their heart, in their soul, and to make a difference for not only today, but for the next generation? Anybody here for that? Am I in the right place? Hello. And to help us out, I get to invite a wonderful friend of mine that I've known now for the past 15 years. So Venk Shukla was the founding president of FFE and remained its president for the first 17 years. You couldn't get rid of him, I'm kidding. You didn't want to. He is proud of the fact that he recruited both Minu and Sudha, our volunteer presidents of FFE USA and FFE India. Let me repeat that. They are both volunteer presidents. Give them a hand. They do this out of the love in their heart and the difference that they can make. He continues to be on the board of FFE USA and a trustee of FFE India Trust. He is also the founder and managing partner of a highly successful seed stage VC fund, Monte Vista Capital. He has also been the past president of Thai Silicon Valley and chair of Thai Global. He continues to be active in pushing for favorable policy regime for startups in India and is a member of Government of India's Startup Advisory Council headed by the Commerce Minister. And by the way, Venk, we could use you in the US government as far as the educational, but that's a whole nother story I'll talk about maybe afterward. He's also the husband, the most important characteristic of his all. He is also the husband of one of the longest serving volunteers of FFE, Abba Shukla. Let's have here. So ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Abba's husband, Venk Shukla.
Thank you, Jeff. Wow, that video really hit home. You know, my father, growing up, was a kid like that girl. Thanks to someone's generosity, he could go to college, and he ended up becoming an IS officer. I could relate to that girl, and I'm sure a lot of you here could also relate to that girl, because probably a generation or 2 generations ago, a lot of people here had families that could relate to that, that related to that situation. So it really hit home for me. So folks, the core premise of FFE is that the most talented people have disproportionate impact on the society. And they should get the opportunity to fulfill their potential. We believe that, that these people have a huge multiplier effect on the society. So that video, the girl was talking about getting a salary of 18 lakh rupees, starting salary. That's $22,000. Our investment in her education was 2,800. In the very first year, there is an 8 times return on investment. And even if she gets no salary raise for the next 30 years, it will still be worth 240 times. Talking of multiplier effect, 4 years ago at this stage, we had another girl scholar, and she was from this small village in Karnataka. She was very smart, and she wanted to go to college, engineering college, to do computer science. And in her community, in her village, girls did not leave village until they got married. And the parents and the extended family loved her, as much. But they said, we'll get you married, and with the permission of your in-laws, you can continue your education. Luckily for her, somehow she, came across FFE, and that thing gave the backing and confidence to her mom, to her mother, to fight for her. And she ended up going to college. Google recruited her here. She came to Mountain View. She became an engineer here. But that's not the best part of the story. The best part of the story is she was telling us that within 3 years of her going to college from that village, 7 other girls went to engineering college and middle college from that village. That's the multiplier effect. So anyway, my job here is to ask you for money. So that's what I'm here for. And but before I do that, let me restate a few things that you have heard before. 100% of your money goes to students. And you would know the name of those students that your generosity is helping. You'll get annual report from them. And our office in FFE would arrange for your Zoom calls with the students one-on-one or in a group. And, and we encourage you that when you go to India, you should meet those students. So you would see how your generosity is transforming those kids. So anyway, you saw the video. Now I want to introduce you to people whose life got transformed because of your generosity. So let's do this. First, I want to invite one of our guests here, Rajan Patel. He is Vice President of Search at Google. And I also want to invite, one of his employees is a Google scholar, FFE scholar. So he's going to talk about that. All yours.
All right, thank you. So Ranjit, before I give this to you, I have to tell a little story. My wife and I were here a few years ago. We were guests of Aditi and Puneet Goel, and we didn't know very much about FFE at all. We were standing outside having drinks like many of you did earlier today, and someone came up to me, a young man came up to me, and he said, "Oh, hey, hey Rajan, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, hey, Ranjit, how are you? And what are you doing here?" And so he's like, "No, I'm an FFE scholar. You see the sash?" I'm like, I don't know what that means, but congratulations. And over the next hour, I learned what that meant. And I learned that it meant that, and it turns out Ranjit was an engineer on my team. And I learned that it meant that, Ranjit wouldn't have had that opportunity to work with us at Google if not for FFE. And it turns out Ranjit works on augmented reality. He works on building the future of computing. And so without, the generous gift that FFE provided him, we wouldn't have people like him that are building the future of computing at Google. And so it's not just about rescuing and providing people an opportunity like Ranjit, but also these are the people that are building the future of what we use and what we're going to benefit from. So it's an incredible opportunity, and I've gotten to know Ranjit better over the last few years, and just really honored to get to see what he's accomplished, not just as an FFE scholar, not just as an engineer at Google, but in what he's given back to the community over the last several years. This year, he was awarded the president's, and not just any president, like President Biden's award for volunteering for his work to donate $400,000 worth of masks to India, PPE to India. He's been a tremendous volunteer for FFE for many years, and with that, I want to give you this award on behalf of FFE. Thank you, Ranjit.
Thank you for coming. Wait. Ranjit, stay here. Okay, I want to invite two other scholars who are here, Bismay Mishra and Thanga Rajratnam. Please come here. So you heard about Ranjit, and Bismay is Global Director for Analytics and Insights at Gilead Sciences for HIV products. And Thanga is in charge of cloud infrastructure and DevOps at eBay. So you guys here are the veterans of FFE. And Bismay, let me start with you. You saw about the skilling and all the soft skilling and all the mentoring and stuff. We didn't have all these things while you guys were studying. What do you think of that?
Before I start, by the way, just a huge round of applause to all the ladies, young and younger, in the crowd, because handling this sash has been so difficult. I don't know how you all do it effortlessly, graciously, confidently. So we need to learn something from all of you. Let's start with that, right?
He has some good skills, that's for sure. The soft skills are working, yes.
So I have to say, I've had a lot of informal mentors through the FFE organization, including yourself and Abhaji. And my facilitator her elder brother, who lives in the US, he used to be part of the FFE organization very deeply for a long time. And you know, he actually informally mentored me through my college years. So yes, we didn't have a formal program, but I think those informal connections were very, very important. And you're right. I mean, it's amazing to see the programs that have been developed over the years, because it's one thing to just get into the college and get the financial funding, but then you're competing with the cream of the cream, the best of the best, and how do you differentiate yourselves? That becomes a really, really tough position for all of us when we were students. I think those programs are incredibly helpful today, and they keep helping us be on the top and keep competing and getting to the best opportunities, right? Because one of the things we have been discussing also is how do we improve upon that mentorship program. I feel like when someone who I know from my high school asks me, what do I do when I graduate from college? I'm like, I have no clue. That was 20 years ago. So, but we can actually help our own kind of alumni networks as well and help each other by mentoring those who are maybe 5 to 10 years less experienced than us, and those kind of like a tiered mentorship program. So I think the current program is fantastic. We'll just keep improving that and helping more and more scholars.
Let me ask you this. How many people are here at FFE for the first time? Just raise your hand. First time. Okay. Hopefully, hopefully this gives you an idea of the kind of talent that we support. You know, any thoughts from you, Ranjit, about this?
Sure. I want to talk about, like, I think the direct impact of donors is pretty evident from all our stories. I want to also talk about the indirect impact. For example, I got FFE scholarship, so I was able to sponsor my younger sister to graduate from computer science engineering. And I'm also able to, through FFE, sponsor 6 more FFE scholars. And thank you. And last year, one of those scholars actually sent me a message that they received, they got a placement, and their starting salary was 3 times my starting salary. So, yeah, thank you for supporting FFE scholars, and I request you to continue to support generously.
That is a big circle of giving.
That's right. Yeah, okay. So I think my job is done here. And where is our fearless leader? Minu, please, the stage is all yours. Thank you. Thank you.
Big hand for your president of FFE. Ladies and gentlemen, help us welcome Minu Gupta.
Thanks, Ranjit.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a wonderful evening. All of you have made it possible by coming out of the shell. You know, we were all lived in our closets, rooms, whatever it took to get through the 3 years. So this has been a beautiful evening. Thank you to all our volunteers, our board members, our esteemed guests, and some people actually traveled from Omaha. Deepak and Kiran, thank you so much for coming from Omaha. Our pleasure to have you here. And can I please have all the volunteers come up? And maybe all the board members if you're here tonight. Raj, Prabhu, Venk, Sudha, Nirmal, Sarosh. You guys being shy. I didn't think that was the case. Poonam, Abha.
Hello guys, thank you very much for your generous and wonderful support. From every table, you guys decide who want to take the flowers home.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So please take them home, whoever you guys vote for it, and enjoy.